everybody, and welcome to another episode of Leadnap Gaming. Today we're talking about the Argo SRV, and rather than present it as a buyer's guide or a review or anything like that, really the discussion I want to talk about is, does it make the Vulcan obsolete? I bring this up because we've seen it now in store now for about a week, and on forums and several other YouTube videos have come out arguing that the Vulcan is no longer a ship worth having because there's no reason to repair the ship on the battlefield if you could just tow it back. Now, obviously, we're ignoring all of the civilianized uses for the Argo, such as, for example, bringing mineable materials closer to mining ships, moving the full cargo containers from mining ships to the refinery ships and bringing empty containers back for them to use so that they don't have to leave the mining site. Chris Roberts has even talked about, you would see these moving your ship off the pad at Olisar instead of it just despawning. I would ask, where is it going to go at Olisar? Because there's not some giant space hangar for them to be stored in, but maybe that's something they'll think about down the road anyways, since the despawn thing also doesn't make a lot of sense with that. Anyhow, again, really what we're focusing on today is the Vulcan versus the Argo, and does one make the other obsolete? Now, the big kind of arguments that go into this is, one, that the Vulcan stats are argued to be not as good in the sense that it's not as well protected, and that really the Argo gives you, it has cargo space, which I do agree I think is a little weird, but that, you would just, why would you repair something out there in the verse, especially with limited repair and supply, when you could just tow it all the way back to a station? So I think the important thing to understand here is that the Argo is not a tow truck in the military sense of it. Rather, the modern day equivalent, for example, of the Argo is the U.S. military's M88 Wrecker. For those that don't know, the M88 is a 88-ton behemoth. I've had the pleasure of riding in one, and they're designed to really be able to take tank fire and survive, because what the 88 does is it moves onto the battlefield during the battle to recover mobility killed vehicles and bring them back for repair. So in this case, the idea and the rationale, I think, behind the medium shield generator, medium coolers, the medium armor suite that the Argo has, is it's supposed to fulfill this wrecker role, where during the battle, it's going to move on to the battlefield to recover that hammerhead that's lost its engines and is burning, and bringing it back, not all the way home, but just behind the front line where the Vulcans and the other repair facilities are located out in the field, in order to patch up that hammerhead and potentially get it back into the fight. Now, we don't know how big the universe is actually going to be. We know it's going to have something around 100 solar systems in it, but it could take hours for you to get that hammerhead in a quantum jump back to a station-type facility that can conduct a full repair. That is a pretty big loss of combat power potentially, and what the Argo would allow you to do, assuming that you are in an org large enough and conducting fleet battles in this manner, would allow you to bring that hammerhead back maybe 10 minutes, 30 million kilometers back to a kind of rallying point where you have the Vulcans who can then go ahead and get the engines repaired and get the hammerhead back in the fight, where it can bring that firepower to bear and potentially help turn the tide of the battle. If you had to take it all the way back, once it's damaged and removed from the battlefield, it's done. So think of the Argo less as a replacement for the Vulcan and more of a tool used with the Vulcan. You need them both, and effective logistics and battlefield repair pipelines are going to ensure battlefield success. So I don't think that in any way the Vulcan has been made obsolete, and rather I actually think that the Argo fills a very important role, because anyone who thought that they were going to take their Vulcan onto an active battlefield and try to conduct repairs, potentially having to do a little bit of EVA work as well. As fighters whipped around dogfighting and hammerheads were trying to shoot down retaliators and stuff like that, well, you're crazier than I am, and I've done some crazy things in my life. So there you have it. Let me know down in the comments below. Do you guys understand my theory here? Do you agree with it? Does it make sense? Do you think I'm out on cloud nine and clearly the Vulcan has been made obsolete? Let's talk about it down in the comments below. As always, don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will catch you next time.